I'm the same place.
County.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ulster County Transportation Council February Policy Committee meetings. We'll do roll call introductions. Brian, roll call.
Yes, I'll name the municipality as the voting member present. Could please state the name? Ulster County.
Ed Pine.
City of Kingston.
John Schulteis.
Town of Saugerties.
Leanne Thornton.
Town of Ulster. New York State Department of Transportation.
Sandra Jobson.
New York State Thruway Authority.
Nancy Zhou.
Nancy. Village of Saugerties. Town of Rosendale.
Jim Walsh.
Town of Lloyd.
Dave Plowtech.
Town of Plattekill. Willie Castillo. Willie. Village of Ellenville. Town of New Paltz.
Neil Patez. I think Town of Ulster's online.
Yeah, he's on there.
Thank you. Town of Woodstock. And Town of Rochester.
Mike Baden.
Great. That's 11 members present. We have a quorum.
Good morning again, everyone. My name is Dennis Doyle. Item on the agenda is call for citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? There's nobody in the room. Is there anyone online?
If anyone is commenting online, please raise your hand. I'm seeing none.
Any council member comments in the room? Any council member comments online? Item number 3 on the agenda, the approval of the November 28, 2023 Policy Committee meeting. Do I have a motion for discussion purposes?
So moved, Mike Baden.
Do I have a second?
Neil. Go ahead. Second, Neil Patez.
Thank you, Neil. I have a motion and second. Any comments? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Communications and announcements, Brian.
Recently, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced the, is it the third round of the Safe Streets for All program? Dave, do you want to say a few words? Because I know you're taking point on that program.
Yeah, of course. So we've been eagerly awaiting the third round of Safe Streets for All, Safe Streets and Roads for All program from the UCTC, which is an effort to get more safety funds into local municipalities for local projects. The state is not eligible to use these funds. One of the requirements of using these funds for construction is you have to have a local road safety plan in place that identifies the local priorities. So there's funding that's available for planning, and then there's funding that's available for implementation. And we had developed our county road safety plan prior to the development or prior to this program coming out. We did, which looks at all the roads within Ulster County and does that data-driven approach to prioritize everything. City of Kingston was able to use that as part of their application. Unsuccessful in the last round, but the plan did stand up as being valid to be used. That being said, we are considering applying for an update to that plan for planning funds. But if any municipalities are interested in applying, please reach out. We can take a look at what priorities we've identified and how they match up with your local system and things that you might want to be implementing. And happy to work with you guys on any applications you may have.
Can I just ask, what would the type of project that would
These are safety projects, so we have to show a cost benefit analysis associated with them, and proven safety countermeasures that they want to see.
So would the Safe Routes to School plans qualify as well?
The plan would not meet the requirement of the safety plan, just because they're looking for a data-driven approach. So we went through and did a whole network screening where we rated and ranked essentially all the roads in the county. And that's really what they want to see, is that level of, that's where the priorities are coming from. So the safe areas, safe versus school are usually pretty targeted in surrounding schools. I mean, it could match up, it wouldn't hurt your application if you had something like that in place.
But that wouldn't qualify as a plan.
Not as a plan.
Okay.
No, it's pretty, they're looking for some very specific things in that plan. And that's one of the reasons we're considering applying for an update to that, is because we didn't necessarily meet all the requirements. We met enough that you can use it, but we want it to be stronger for our municipalities.
Oh, so go ahead, Jane.
But, one of the issues is, most towns, rural towns, we connect to the county and the state roads, and then, really the work that needs to be done is on the state and county roads. So we couldn't do an application, I'm assuming, and include those, right?
Yeah.
We could, okay. Because, like for us, where the pedestrian walkways are and stuff like that are all on our state roads.
Right. If it's a state facility, unless I don't know how it would work, I guess if the municipality was sponsoring it and paying for it, maybe. But
TAP allows it.
TAP allows it, but this is USDOT, so this is a little
We can check that.
different. But yeah, we'll take
Because, it's the rural, it's not where the rural areas are that we need those things done. It's where the sidewalks are and crosswalks, things like that.
It's a good question. Thanks. So deadlines that we have coming up, there's a rolling deadline for the planning component, which is April 4th, May 16th, and August 29th. 3 rounds essentially that we have. Implementation, however, though, is a single deadline of May 16th.
Do we have that?
It's on our website. We have it under funding opportunities.
I'll look, thank you.
But we can definitely send it around. Or just a general update.
And where is the plan, the Ulster County plan is on your website as well?
Yes, we do have that available. So here we go. I'll get to show the website a little bit.
Right.
So I can go straight to safety and the planning studies.
By the way, it's so much easier to navigate the new website than the old one. Thank you.
We're still learning the ins and outs of doing the edits, so but I appreciate that. That's great.
I think one of the things we learned from the Kingston application is that you would be better to figure out specifically that there's something in the plan that refers to the area that you want to.
These are very prescriptive requirements.
Yeah, so in the plan, we've gone through and we've identified top 10, priority locations that we had picked out that were kind of demonstrative. But in addition to that, we also ranked top 50 for segments and intersections. That's really the list that you probably want to go through. Sorry, I'm trying to get to it here. So these are like kind of our top 10 little demonstration ones where we go into detail on them with, the specific treatments, cost benefits. But the top 50 in the appendix, this list is where you really could take a look for an application. This is probably the best spot to go. Then, since we did look at all roads in Ulster County, we do hit a lot of those New York State DOT facilities, county facilities.
Couldn't the towns adopt the county plan?
That's what we were hoping.
Okay.
And, you can use this plan as a reference. The big thing is we don't have individual municipalities priority lists. Sure. It's done at the county level. So again, another thing that we're considering if we do apply for our own, to do a planning study, we would probably do individual municipality lists. So.
Any other questions with perspective?
Yeah.
I think Leanne has one.
Yes, I have a question. At our last STAC meeting about 2 weeks ago, one of the comments that came up was how to promote, public awareness of for folks that are walking on the side of the road or walking back and forth, from, let's say, 32 from Comfort Inn, where there are many folks being housed now, into the village. And the discussion was coming up with a way to promote reflective, like headgear or a vest or some type of source that we could use for funding that would provide education to people who are, you know, they're pedestrians walking on state highway and then into, you know, county roads and into the village. Would this type of program be possible to look for a funding source to provide some type of reflective gear that could be dispersed, like, for example, to students at school, to a track team, to people who are staying at facilities bordering the village?
Thank you, Leanne. I'm happy to respond to that. At the previous, the February meeting of the Traffic Safety Board, the same subject was brought up and discussed in detail. There's a few points I can say. Presently, the YMCA of Kingston does offer vests free of charge.
Okay.
So that is a resource that we can point constituents to. You can walk into the front desk and they will provide you one upon request. Second is that Ulster County Area Transit will be purchasing a large number of vests for distribution to their riders, again, upon request. And we may expand that to make vests available in the DMV as well, but we're working on that. But overall, and this is, you know, hinging also on the county executive's recent remarks at the State of the County address. She opened with a statement regarding traffic safety and has been coordinating with the UCTC and the Traffic Safety Board to think about a long-term campaign for pedestrian and overall traffic safety. And among that may include making vests available, but we haven't ironed out all those details because we also want to consider an overall media approach as well to get out more information regarding safety on our roads and seeing and being seen when traveling on the roads. So I think we can talk a little bit more about that under the UPWP because there is a project listed there that could potentially fund it.
Okay, thank you.
Safe Streets for All, it would not provide funding for education. This is planning and implementation funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Any other comments?
I have a few other communications.
Hearing none, Brian, additional communications?
Yeah, just briefly, the UCTC staff have been participating in 3 different ongoing solicitations from New York State DOT in reviewing, rating, and ranking applications. David has been spearheading the Bridge New York program, and we received a number of applications there. I've been spearheading the Transportation Alternatives program, and our team just completed the review of, there are close to 60 applications in Region 8. Fortunately, we didn't have to review all of them. There are 3 separate teams. And there is also the FTA Section 5310 solicitation. There were no applications from Ulster County, so we didn't participate in that review. Very good showing by Ulster County municipalities once again. I would again remind our members to please reach out to us if you intend to submit an application and request a little feedback. We would be happy to provide that, at least at a minimum, to provide some oversight and some insight to what the reviewers might be looking for during each individual round. It can help to inform your application to make sure that it's as competitive as possible. For TAP, out of Ulster County, we had 6 applications, and nearly all of them were well written and well received.
I would note that in conjunction with supervisor comment relative to state roads and that a lot of those applications, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, actually involve state roads, and the state doesn't apply for this funding, even though it can. So municipalities are providing funding or actually applying for funds to be used as part of state facilities as part of those TAP applications. Anything else, Brian?
That's all I have.
Any idea when they might announce?
It's said in the guidebook in the spring. Obviously, that's it's an announcement by the governor's office, so we'll wait to see what happens. But Our job is done at Region 8. We've reviewed and we'll be submitting those to central office.
Any other comments on that TAP application? I'm not hearing any other communications. Any communications from the board, Brian?
Question on the TAP. Is that the application that is involving the Washington Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Because I had a question about that from the Trails Advisory Committee that met last night. Is now a good time to ask it, or should I?
We can take that offline.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll take that offline.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Hearing none. Item 5, new business. Item A, UCTC Resolution 20-24-01, approval of UCTC State Fiscal Year Unified Planning Work Program. I have a motion for discussion purposes, please.
So moved, Mike Baden.
I have a motion by Mr. Baden, second.
I'll second.
Okay, double check. I have a motion in a second. Brian.
I have a limited number of copies that we printed or trying to save paper. We'll pass them around. Dave, there was a presentation, right? It's the same presentation that I provided at the technical committee. I'm going to run through it very quickly. Every year at this time, MPOs across New York State prepare their unified planning work programs. This is, of course, the full budget of the Transportation Council, all the plans and projects that we plan to progress during the next state fiscal year. So it's for the period April 1 through March 30th, 2024 through 2025. Go ahead, Dave. Yep. Purpose is to plan and implement a transportation planning work program supporting the goals and objectives of the long-range transportation plan. Go ahead. Just a brief review of our allocation history. We did receive a drop in our allocations this year, and that's a direct result of the changes in the 2020 census methodology, which decreased our urbanized area population somewhat. So we received an overall 11% decrease since 2023. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Dave. But we do have significant savings. This is our allocation history going back to the beginning of the MPO in 2003. So the full amount of funding that we are estimating during this period is $1.4 million in Federal Highway Administration planning funds. These are funds that can only be used for planning purposes, not for engineering or implementation construction projects. And then on the FTA side, this is our grant history as well. And a smaller amount, we have an estimate $296,344 in what's referred to as Section 5303 funds, which again can only be used for transit planning purposes. The document is split into projects are split into 6 major sections, as well as a section for the FTA projects. We always do a call for new projects every year to give municipalities an opportunity to think about any local priorities and projects they might want to implement. We did receive a request for a bike ped master plan from the town of New Paltz this year. We have decided, considering the decrease in funding at this point, to not add any new projects during this state fiscal year. And I should also add, we currently have 6 discrete studies that are underway, which is a record number. I can't remember a time when we've been this busy. So we really feel like we need to catch our breath, I think, this year and get caught up on projects. During the course of last year, we did manage to complete the website update. Go on, Dave. And then underway, these are the 6 projects I'm referring to. The Kingston Railroad Safety Study that David is leading, Town of Ulster Route 9W, Corridor Management Plan, Mobility Plan, we're calling it, which should be completed within the next 3 months. Our Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan. We've had a survey open for the month of February. This is to address enhanced transit services for the elderly and disabled. The survey has received over 100 responses, so we really appreciate particularly our senior services and organizations like RCAL that have assisted in getting the word out about that survey. We have started the UCAT route optimization study, which is a $173,000 hard look at the UCAT system to see if we can re-envision those routes and improve them, as well as take a look internally at the operations of UCAT and look at their technology that they're using to manage routing, scheduling, and even management of their internal staff. Of course, the traffic count program is an annual program, and we will be executing within a number of weeks the long-range transportation plan update, which is due September 30th, 2024. So the program is largely, in a lot of different ways, it's unchanged since last year or the current state fiscal year. We did, you may recall, move funding, did what we call an internal offset. We took funds from the Ulster Albany Ave Corridor Management Plan, applied them to a different project that we needed additional funds on, which was, I think, the LRTP. Yeah. We have restored the funding on that project as promised to the original amount of $120,000. We did add one project. So I shouldn't say there are no new projects. The one new project is what we're calling on-call engineering assistance. We've seen our colleagues in Dutchess and Orange provide a similar task in their unified planning work programs. And this would be a mechanism for us to procure a qualified transportation engineering firm and have them essentially on call to assist us if we need a sketch, if we need a detailed safety analysis, or perhaps a sketch for a grant application or something of that nature. A level of analysis that's beyond our internal expertise, that is what we could potentially use for that purpose. And then, as I referenced earlier in my remarks to Leanne, we have had a long-standing task code for public education outreach services, and that was always budgeted at $25,000. We had no specific purpose or project, but we figured it would be an opportunity to support some bus wraps or messaging for the traffic safety board if a decent proposal was provided to us. Given the remarks of the executive and the horrible tragedies we've had on our roadways during the month of January with 4 fatalities of all individuals under the age of 22, we have committed $100,000 in additional funds to this task to provide support for a public education campaign for traffic safety. It is not yet determined what the scope of that will be, but that's something we'll be working with the county executive on in the months ahead. Go ahead, Dave. So the main tables, I realize, you know, these tables can be a lot to absorb, and they're even difficult for staff to absorb sometimes, but they are the critical tables that really summarize the full program once all projects are considered. So on the top side, we have a total federal budget on the FHWA side of $1.142 million. And then on the FTA side beneath that, the federal budget is $296,000. We're programming all of our FTA funds, but we keep in an unprogrammed balance, a balance of $276,000 in FHWA funds. These are not programmed, they're essentially savings in case we need to fund an additional project. If there's a federal rescission, there's any number of reasons why we want to keep a nice, safe, unprogrammed balance. And it's generally roughly the equivalent to the annual expenditures of the MPO. It's what we try to keep there. I believe that's less than our annual expenditures, but it's certainly a decent amount. Table, boy, I need to get my eyes checked. Table 5, I need to improve the resolution of these images. This is a full summary by project level of all of our projects summarized. And then next slide. I know. I
need 2 pages for these.
Yeah, this is an important table. I just recently started to include this at the very end of the document. It's the quick reference table, and it really shows all the individual projects that are explained with a detailed narrative in the body of the document. But these are the numbers. And this is the master spreadsheet that informs all the other tables. Once Dennis and I figure this out, we've pretty much gotten this to populate itself. If everything works out well, it should balance out. We did receive some comments from New York State DOT last night. I spoke with my colleague, Lisa Cataldo, who's out of the central office. She's the program administrator for the Office of Policy, Planning, and Performance at New York State DOT. It's her responsibility to review all of the UPWPs across the state, I believe, and make sure that they are in conformance with federal guidelines before we submit them to the feds. We want to make sure they're correct. She did have some minor comments for me. I'll just run through those right now. On page 11 of the narrative, the amount of money budgeted for the special projects, the SCI, was actually increased from 150,000 to 200,000. So that's a revision I will make. The PIN numbers in the appendix for these FTA tables 2A through 2E, my PIN numbers were wrong for some reason. So I need to update all of those PINs. And finally, she would like me to add a footnote at the bottom of table 6 to indicate that we now have a planning set aside for complete streets planning that the NPOs are required to make on a regular basis. So these changes have not been included in the document that has been submitted, but we will make those revisions in due time.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions from anybody in the room?
I should also know we did have this one subject to public comment, and we did not receive any public comments.
Anyone in the room have any questions? Comments? Anyone online?
See no hands.
Hearing none. As revised, do I have anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? So carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I think that was number 13 for my 13th unified phone work.
So who's counting?
Yeah.
Yes.
At what point doing the tables with the eyes crossed?
Yeah. Frequently.
You
And
measure
then
like,
Dennis changes them on how to work.
you measure like dog ears, you know, each one is, yeah.
Item B, UCTC Resolution 20-24-02 to authorize the transfer of administrative and management responsibilities for Ulster County commuter bus carrier share of the federal fiscal year 2021 FTA Section 5307 TM formula fund to the Capital District Transportation Authority, CDTA, Albany, New York. Do I have a motion for discussion purposes?
So moved, Mike Bailey.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Baden.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Brian, or you want me to take it?
I'll get it started and then if you
Thank you.
fill in the blanks for me. So capital cost and contracting, FTA dollars for public transit cannot be used by private agencies. They need to be spent for public purposes. The mechanism that the FTA uses in order to address that is called capital cost of contracting. And this allows the NPO to transfer dollars to private carriers so that they can pay for vehicle maturation, essentially, to provide those services to the public on the state system. And that is essentially what this does. It is these authorize the transfer of dollars that are generated within Ulster County and the Mid-Hudson Valley Transportation Management Area. We transfer the administrative responsibilities of those dollars to the CDTA, Capital District Transportation Authority. That's been a long-standing practice that we've had because it facilitates administration of the dollars. This is my very brief explanation.
Yeah, and just be aware of the fact that these dollars are now controlled by a bidding process. And the amount of money that's available to the transit carrier, in this case Trailways, is limited by that a contract between the state, CDTA and Trailways. So the amount of money that we're transferring is equal to the amount of money that's in that contract.
So, how is the contract, looked at? What are they providing exactly?
They provide additional, it helps subsidize the services that Trailways provides in the MPO region.
So it's the services that the county has pretty much asked them to provide.
Actually, it's regional. It's not.
Okay.
It's not the county has asked them. It's regionalized services. It's basically inter-county services.
And does the contract go before the legislator?
No,
Who does it go before?
it goes before. It goes to the state,
Okay,
and then from the state to CDTA, which is an authority.
okay. So this number, it's up to this number.
That's correct.
That means that the number has not been decided yet in the
No,
contract?
the number is in the contract is the maximum amount, but they have to essentially bill against it.
I see.
Any other questions?
Resolution 2024-2 is for federal fiscal year 21.
Yeah, federal fiscal year 21. Thank you. Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Item C, UCTC Resolution 2024-03, authorize the transfer of administrative and management responsibilities to Ulster County Community Bus Carrier Share, federal fiscal year 2022. I have a motion for discussion purposes.
Motion.
Now, Supervisor Quigley.
Yes.
I'll second my thing.
Mr. Baden, second. I have a motion and a second. So this is essentially the same thing. Only what it does is it basically provides the next fiscal year's funding, again covered by contract, and again with all of those caveats associated with Brian's discussion. Any questions?
I'm not sure if did I just end up with 2 24s and not
Yeah, the fours are in the.
I think, we don't have the resolution for 23.
Yeah, I got 2 4s also.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got 2 4s. And the 3s. Thanks.
thank you.
Got it.
You need one.
Next
I need one.
Okay. So 2024-3 is what is presently being considered.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And the amount here is $2,445,000.
Yeah.
Anybody have an opportunity to look at that?
So these are past years. Have we gotten the bills for them already or no?
We have not.
Okay,
Think of it this way, that they weren't allowed to submit any.
I see.
These are going to go back to a grant application by CDTA into FDA, and then the submittals there, and the submittals are by route. There's routes, about 70% of the routes that are part of the contract are within the Ulster County CDTA, Ulster County UCTC's planning area.
And was Trailways aware that they might have to wait a couple of years?
Yes, they responded to the RFP, and it's taken a bit of time.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, any opposed? All right, Dave?
Did we get a motion on that one?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Supervisor Quigley,
and I
and
second.
second. Got it. Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Item D, UCTC Resolution 2024-04, authorize the transfer of administrative and management responsibilities for Ulster County Commuter Bus Carrier Share of the federal fiscal year 2023 FDA Section 5307 formula funds to Capital District Transportation Authority, CDPA, Albany, New York. We have a motion for discussion purposes.
So moved.
I'll
Thank
second
you,
it.
Supervisor. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Supervisors. Much appreciated. Again, this is just the same thing. Numbers here are, Brian, you have those numbers?
Yeah, certainly. For year 3, the not to exceed maximum allowable amount is $2,515,000. Federal funds available and for that year is $4.7 million.
This is 2,551,000.
Right, that's what I said.
Oh,
Or did I not say? I said 15. Sorry, misspoke.
That says
Is it
15 on this one, but this says 551.
Yeah, that's the correct amount,
Which one?
551.
551?
It's in the resolution.
Okay.
So any other questions? Hearing none, any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Item F. I am off, I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead. That's UCTC Resolution 2024-05. Amendment to the UCTC Federal Fiscal Year 2023-2027 Transportation Improvement Program TIP to add the City of Kingston PIN 876330 as shown in attachment 1. Do I have a motion for discussion purposes?
So move, Mike Beatty.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Havlicek, sorry, I'm sorry, Dave, thank you. I have a motion and second. Brian?
Certainly. UCTC TIP amendment procedures require a full amendment to the TIP anytime a project is added or removed. In this instance, the City of Kingston applied for and has received a federal RAISE grant. I apologize, the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Grant Award. This is the single greatest grant award we've received by the NPO. What's so funny?
Nothing.
Of 20,
we had a bet on it earlier whether or not you
whether I would
right.
say that. Well, it's very impressive that the City of Kingston managed to receive a grant in the amount of $23 million in federal funds. And this is for the purpose of the Kingston Weaving Waterfront Transportation Project, which will create multimodal and active transportation connections on trails and roadways along the Rondout Creek and Hudson River area in the City of Kingston. In addition to the Transportation Improvement Program requires technical committee approval, 15-day public comment period, and final policy committee approval.
Did we see any comments?
There were no comments.
I know John Schultz is in. John, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Brian. We've been working with the NISDOT and the Federal Highway to get this ready for approval. The PIN has been assigned. We're very excited to get started. This addition will allow us to start our consultant procurement process, and with the goal of eventually getting to construction in 2027. I gave a little description, I think, at the last meeting of the project scope, which is largely focused on the Rondout waterfront in the City of Kingston, and enhancing safety for all road users, and physically raising some of the roads that are now becoming subject to increasingly frequent flooding. So we're excited to get started on the project. So thanks, Brian and Dennis, for your help so far.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the comments, and congratulations to the city. Do I have any opposed? Do I have any abstentions? So carried. Congratulations again, John. Item F. Item F, Resolution 2024-06, support of New York State Transportation NISDOT targets for safety and performance measures. Do I have a motion for discussion purposes?
Mike Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dave Havlicek, Supervisor, thank you very much. I have a motion and a second. Brian?
MPOs beginning in 2015 were required to begin what's called performance management, and it was addressing several major elements of the highway system, including infrastructure condition, transit safety, as well as this particular resolution addresses the annual safety targets for the statewide system. The safety performance measurement final rule establishes 5 performance measures using a 5-year rolling average to measure first number of total fatalities on the highway system, 2, the rate of fatalities for 100 million vehicles traveled, 100 million vehicle miles traveled, excuse me. 3, the number of serious injuries on our statewide roadways. 4, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. And 5, the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. Those would be pedestrians and bicyclists. This is, again, not just Ulster County roads, but statewide roadways. MPOs have the choice whether to adopt their own performance measures or adopt the state performance measures. To date, all 14 metropolitan planning organizations in New York State have chosen to adopt the state DOT measures as shown here. There is, in addition to the resolution, we have been sending around the fact sheet from New York State DOT that details all of the methodology for establishing these individual targets. This is a rolling 5-year average. So it's one of the few resolutions that we actually will update every single year. And the purpose of having a rolling 5-year average is to develop a smooth trend line so that if you have an anomaly for 1 year in one specific area, it will not affect the overall trend. And that's shown in the tables that are provided on the fact sheet as well. This is a federal requirement. Performance management was introduced as another mechanism to try to better target the use of federal dollars on our roadways and to make sure that they're going to the locations where they're needed the most. So it is an effort to improve use and allocation of federal funds.
Any questions? Comments?
I have a question. So each of these lists, these 5 are looked at each location that they're happening, or is it on that road total?
No, it's a statewide.
So
all
road
patches for all. I believe it's all roads.
All roads.
Yeah.
So how do you evaluate what improvements need to be made if it's all roads and not certain locations?
New York State DOT has an obligation to, for their safety work specifically, to do work on all roadways. So for example, the Highway Safety Improvement Program funding is supposed to be used on state and local facilities. They have an obligation to do that. This is essentially the feds want you to take a look and see the overall trend, and the goal is to set a performance target for, ideally reducing, some states have adopted, vision zero, where they say our goal is 0. New York State is taking a little bit more conservative and they have looked at like a trend going out, but it's everyone's responsibility to work towards meeting these goals, which is why we're adopting them. When the state does it, we do it, local municipalities do it.
And to take a step back, these numbers are derived from the state highway safety improvement plan that David just referenced, and that's updated every year. And that plan does have specific measures and target very specific locations statewide. If not locations, I think there are crash types like roadway departures was one specific crash type.
Priority areas that are identified, and the state does go through and they can identify their priority locations on their facilities. And part of the Safe Streets for Safe Streets and Roads for All programs to do a similar thing at the local level with that kind of prioritization to identify projects.
And they did change, David. We used to have looking at intersections based on differential between an average type of crash for that intersection as it relates statewide, and they've made that change. If you could explain that.
Yeah. So traditionally, there's been when you looked at an intersection, they look at the statewide average to see, you know, the number of crashes you would kind of expect given that type of facility. The state is transitioning away from that and moving towards potential for safety improvement, PSI. So that looks at your expected number of crashes given the facility type, how many crashes you're observing, and then trying to get that number down to, you know, if it's way higher than what you would expect, that's your potential for safety improvement. So it's a change in the method, but it's a little bit more progressive and more detailed and context sensitive, whereas before you were just
the better way to do prioritization but it's a significant change.
So would it target specific areas where we have repeated, you know, problems?
So this gets back to, I think, like funding, for instance. If you're looking at the highway safety improvement program, you know, that's specifically looking for cost benefit analysis. So you have to go through and do that, you know, to demonstrate that there's, you know, the safety improvement will reduce by X amount, you know, given the investment. But that's one of the mechanisms to do this. And we're seeing a lot more interest at the local level to leverage these funds due to just, you know, increased interest in safety, I feel, and you know, what we've been seeing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to note as an aside, we do prepare an annual report. The Traffic Safety Board prepares an annual report to be delivered to the legislature. Once we have a few more years of data, I would like to include similar trend analysis to do a 5-year rolling average of Ulster County. So we'll have that reported hopefully in the next year or two.
You can include that in the LRTP as well. So for reference, if you want to see the county trends, stuff like that.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Thank you. Item 6, other business. Brian, discretionary grant program?
Yeah, I already reviewed the discretionary grant programs and
Next traffic safety board meeting is?
that would be Monday evening at 6 p.m. All are welcome to attend.
And project updates.
Are there any particular project updates you'd like to go over? I gave a very brief overview during the UWP presentation.
The board the council have any questions with respect to the projects we're working on?
So I have a question, and I don't know if we're working on it yet. So at the county executive state of the county, she talked about the UCAT bus system that was going to work with destinations and you know, going to the various points to reduce traffic congestion. Who's going to oversee that, and you know, where does it stand? I forgot the name of it. I apologize. She talked about like Sam's Point and
the nature bus.
That's it.
You're talking about the nature bus?
Yeah.
That's being worked on with UCAT and the tourism department. And I would imagine if you're asking for outreach to the supervisors, is that what you're asking about? Or
just general question about who's gonna, because it was something that came about as discussions by the supervisors over the last few years of the need for it. And when she presented it, I was just curious, you know, who's going to be managing, who's going to be coming up with the plan, because out of it came a question of what are the timetables going to be. You know, people are already trying to get to the details. Okay. So I'm getting questions of, you know, where is it going to go? What's the schedule going to be? Those kind of things. So I just didn't really know who to direct it to.
We'll have somebody reach out to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Scott is on this call as well at UCAT.
Yeah, hi everybody. I don't have any details, but what I will do is I will work with Tony, our director, and the executive's office and the tourism office, and see if I can get those details to this forum as soon as possible.
I see Tony Troche is on there as well.
Great, thank you. It was just questions I've had from from various supervisors and other groups about how it was all gonna work. And I didn't have any answers, so I appreciate it.
I haven't been included in the planning, but I will get back to you on that.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully, every day will be like today till we get to April. Everybody have a nice rest of the day and enjoy the sunshine. And I don't think I need a motion to adjourn, but I'll take one. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Any opposed to adjourning? Yes, not. Thank you very much, everybody. You had a question for me.
Yeah. Right, I just noticed.